I don't know if what I experienced was supernatural or if I was just losing my mind. I've gone over it again and again in my head, and even now I can't fully explain what happened. Some of it sounds small or even silly written down, but at the time, living through it, it was terrifying. For context, this was about 3 years ago. I was 26, had just finished grad school, and I moved to a mid-sized town in the northeast US for my first proper job. I didn't have much money and didn't know anyone in the area, so I went on Craigslist looking for cheap rooms to rent. That's how I found the house. It was this old two-story house, built in the 1920s according to the landlord. Faded blue paint, a little bit of sag in the porch, but otherwise it looked fine. The rent was low, suspiciously low, honestly. And when I asked why, the landlord said, "It's an old house. Not everything works perfectly, but you'll get used to it." He was an older guy, maybe late 60s, polite but brief. He didn't seem like a scammer, just someone who wanted a tenant. The deal was simple. I'd have one upstairs bedroom and shared access to the kitchen and bathroom. No one else lived there. He said he had moved out years before and now just managed the place. That sounded perfect to me. I signed the lease and moved in 2 weeks later. At first, everything was fine. The house was drafty, but I figured that was normal for something that old. The pipes clanked whenever the water heater kicked on. The floors creaked. It wasn't fancy, but it was cheap, and I liked the sense of privacy. The first odd thing happened about a week in. I came home from work one night and noticed the front door was unlocked. That immediately threw me off because I'm very careful about locking doors, always have been. I brushed it off, though. Maybe I'd just been rushing that morning. But then it happened again, and again. There were other little things, too. A yogurt missing from the fridge. My phone charger unplugged and coiled neatly on the desk, instead of plugged into the wall where I'd left it. Shoes moved slightly out of place. I kept second-guessing myself. Had I eaten the yogurt and just forgotten? Had I unplugged the charger? I told myself it was stress, the new job, living alone in a creaky house. But then I started hearing things. Late at night, when I was lying in bed, I'd hear faint sounds from downstairs. Not the house settling, these were distinct. The sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, across the living room. Once I heard the refrigerator door open and close. I remember sitting up in bed, heart pounding, listening as hard as I could. The footsteps would stop as soon as I moved. When I finally got the courage to go downstairs with a flashlight, everything was quiet. Nothing seemed out of place. This went on for weeks. I started losing sleep, snapping at coworkers. I didn't tell anyone because how could I? I think my house has a ghost that eats yogurt sounds ridiculous. One Saturday afternoon, I decided I'd had enough. I went through the whole house, every closet, every cupboard, even the crawl space in the basement. I didn't find anything unusual, but I did notice something I hadn't before. In the upstairs hallway, the floorboards near the end were slightly different, narrower, and the nails were newer than the surrounding boards. That got my curiosity going. I knelt down and tapped on the boards. Hollow. My stomach dropped. It took me an hour of fumbling with a screwdriver and a hammer, but eventually, I pried one loose. Beneath it was a small rectangular opening, like a hidden hatch. I shined my phone flashlight inside. There was a space, maybe 3 feet high, running the length of the hallway wall. A crawl space. And inside it was a blanket, a water bottle, a few wrappers from protein bars. Someone had been living there. I remember just sitting back, shaking, trying to process it. It was like every little weird thing suddenly made sense. The missing food, the unlocked doors, the sounds at night. I called the landlord immediately. He came over within the hour. When I showed him what I'd found, his face went pale. He said, I thought I sealed that off years ago." Apparently, decades back, his brother had lived in the house. The brother had severe mental health issues and would sometimes disappear into that crawl space for days, convinced people were after him. After the brother died, the landlord claimed he nailed it shut to put it all behind him, but clearly someone had reopened it. We called the police. They searched the crawl space and the whole house. No one was there, but they found more evidence. a small stash of canned food, a notebook with frantic scribbles, and, disturbingly, several Polaroid photos. The photos were of me, sleeping, sitting at the desk, brushing my teeth in the bathroom. The police asked if I recognized anyone, but I didn't. They took everything as evidence. I stayed in a motel for a week until I found another apartment. To this day, they never figured out who it was. The landlord swore he had no idea. Maybe it was a homeless person who stumbled on the space. Maybe it was someone who'd lived there before me and never left.
Sometimes I wake up at night thinking I hear footsteps again. And I still don't know if I believe in ghosts. But I believe in something worse, people who know how to stay hidden. I didn't move back into that house. After the police investigation, I collected my things during the daytime, with 2 friends helping me. I couldn't stand being there alone anymore. But what I never told the police, what I didn't even tell my friends, was that I found something else. When I was packing up, I went into my bedroom closet. There was a loose floorboard there too. I hadn't noticed it before. I thought maybe it was just damage from the house being so old, but when I pried it up, there was a small folded piece of paper. On it, in rushed handwriting, were just 3 words, "Don't trust him." No name, no explanation. I didn't show it to the landlord. Something in my gut told me not to. For weeks after moving into my new apartment, I kept thinking about that note. Don't trust who? The landlord? The police? Or was it just nonsense from whoever was hiding in that crawl space? One night, curiosity got the better of me. I called the detective who had taken my statement and asked if there had been any updates. He sighed and said no, there wasn't much to go on. The fingerprints in the crawl space didn't match anyone in the system. The Polaroid film was common. The notebook had nothing useful, just paranoid ramblings. I asked him, almost jokingly, if they had looked into the landlord. There was a pause before he said, "Look, off the record, your landlord did have some complaints in the past. Tenants saying he'd enter the house without notice, watch them while they slept, things like that. But nothing ever stuck. No hard evidence." That chilled me more than anything. Because suddenly, the idea that it was just a stranger living in the walls didn't feel like the whole story. A couple of months later, I was walking home from work. It was late, around 10 p.m. The streets quiet. I passed a narrow alley, and for a split second, I saw someone standing there. Just at the edge of the street light. They were holding something. A camera. By the time I turned my head fully, they were gone. I told myself I was imagining things, but my chest was tight the rest of the way home. That night, I wedged a chair under my apartment door handle before going to sleep. Underscore 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 underscore. Here's the part I've never been able to explain. A week later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single Polaroid. It was me. Standing at my kitchen sink. Taken from outside the window. I never called the police. I don't know why. Maybe I was scared they wouldn't believe me, or maybe I didn't want to hear them say, "There's nothing we can do." Instead, I moved again. And again. In 3 years, I've lived in 4 different apartments. Each time, I get paranoid. Each time, I cover mirrors, double-check locks, and tape over windows. I haven't seen any more Polaroids. But sometimes, late at night, I hear the same sound that haunted me back in that old house. The slow, deliberate creak of footsteps. Underscore 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 underscore. Pause, lower voice. And that's why I don't believe in ghosts. Because people are so much worse.